Good afternoon. Let's start the topic for discussion today. So to start with, the first topic that we will take is relating to an Indian effort. The Indian effort. So Voice of Global South Summit. What is the news is there is a Honorable Prime Minister of India recently inaugurated a virtual event, Voice of the Global South. What is the event? The event was Voice of the Global South. South because the world is divided into North and South. North versus South. North consists of the developed countries, developed world. South consists of the underdeveloped world or third world country. Fine. So there is a big divide between North and the South. Economically they are divided, culturally they are divided, that technologically they are divided, security angle they are divided, poverty is a major factor here, affluence is a major features there. India hosted the summit in a bid to articulate the view of the developing countries. As I told, so India represented here the developing countries. So who are the South? Popularly called as the country in the southern hemisphere. South means southern hemisphere. Nations in the southern hemisphere are called the South countries. Fine. Okay. So the South countries are normally backward industrially, technologically, poor in finance, okay, and have a low level of human development. The standard of living of the people in this country are comparatively lower than the living standard of the people in the northern countries. So here through this summit, India want to articulate the view of the developing countries regarding the effect of pandemic and the war in Ukraine. So two topics were taken into consideration. One is the issue of the effect of pandemic, because pandemic although affected all, but this southern country being poor are more affected because it was a great setback to their economy. Economy of most of the southern countries were crushed in the pandemic. That is why, so they agreed unite in different forum, like so they have the earlier they have the G15, G77, NAM. These are the group of the developing countries or popular South. There is North-South dialogue earlier, okay, which was a very hot topic. So in the post-pandemic and the present Ukrainian crisis period, India hosted the summit just to get the view or the global orientation of these countries towards the major challenges what they faced due to the pandemic and what they are going to facing and going to face in the ongoing war in Ukraine. The event has planned 8 ministerial sessions including finance, energy, education, foreign affairs and commerce. It was held under the theme Unity of Voice, Unity of Purpose. So theme of the summit was Unity of Voice. Unity of voice of the developing countries of third world and unity of purpose. So there is unanimity in the purpose. They want what purpose they want to achieve through their union. Okay, because for these countries unity will be a strength for them, because through unity they will be able to project themselves. That is why so they are thinking of unity. It was held under the theme Unity for Voice, Unity of Voice, Unity of Purpose. Essentially envisages bringing together countries of the global south and sharing their perspective and priorities on a common platform across a whole range of issues. What? To bring all these southern countries under a common platform, okay, and discuss the range of issues that is affecting them, okay, because so these issues definitely are much important for them, and in this forum they want to discuss these issues, okay, and find permanent solution to the issues of common concern. Issues of common concern, they need to be discussed. Fine. United Global South. Prime Minister through this event has set the stage on behalf of developing countries, many of which are united by a history of colonization. Offering to become the voice of the Global South, India during the event gave a new agenda to the world on behalf of the countries of the South: respond, recognize, respect and reform. 4R. But they are: respond to requirement, recognize each and every country, respect everyone and reform your system to as per the present changing requirement. Because in the dynamic world, change is the most static thing. Change is the most static thing, that and most permanent thing. So need to change, and that change need to be implemented through this forum. The Global South badly referred to contain Asia, Africa and South America or Latin America. But this Global South represent country in Asia, Africa and South America, whose number is around 100. Voice of Global South is in the ongoing crisis. According to PM, the world is facing a lasting crisis, and there is no clarity about how long this state of instability will last. The ongoing Ukraine war. So, how long this will last is uncertain. Second uncertainty is regarding the pandemic. Although vaccination has been completed, yet the threat of the pandemic is not over from the global humanity. So in some country, this pandemic is spreading. In many countries, at regular interval, after a little break, this pandemic again is getting aggravated. Okay. Okay. So that is what this instability will continue, because there is no certainty that. So who will, how long this instability will continue, then so this cooperation will try to cement the country's orientation to face it with common endeavor on a united format. That is what, because the threats are looming large and there is no certainty that when these threats will go over, so this will continue. The Global South does not have adequate voice in the 8-decade-old model of global governance and what it should shape the emerging order. As stated by him, most of the global challenges have not been created by the Global South, but they affect us more. Okay, so the Prime Minister declared, okay, okay. The as stated him, most of the global challenges have not been created by the Global South, but they affect us more. Environment, climate change, poverty, that terrorism, so pollution level, even the pandemic. We have seen this in the impact of COVID pandemic, climate change, terrorism, even the Ukraine conflict. The search for solutions also does not factor in our role or our voice. Also, they have emerged as the creator of such problem, and even we don't have the solution to the problems, and our voice in the solution is not that very prominent. The voice of the South in finding solution to these problems is also not that proactive, is not given that importance. But Okay. India's goal, the goal of India is 2023 is to represent the global south. So India in the changed geopolitical situation want to represent the global south. As India begins its G20 presidency this year, it is natural that our aim is to amplify the voice of the global south, because G20, which is the association of the developed and the emerging countries. So India has been provided or got the opportunity, the scope to present itself and establish its and establish its okay. So as India begins its G20 presidency this year, it is natural that our aim is to amplify the voice of the global south. So hosting the most important countries of the world has given India an opportunity to represent the global south as its leader. With a country like India had the potential to be a global leader, but initially in its march to be a global leader, India first of all want to project itself as a leader of the south, the countries who are lagging behind, who have all weakness with them, and first India want to be its mouthpiece or spokesperson, then think of other issues. That is why this was India's approach in hosting this particular conference called the Conference Global South. Fine. So what it want to aim to achieve through this? What set the terms global north and south? Apart from the first, they are arguably more accurate in grouping country together, measuring similarity in terms of wealth, indicators of education and healthcare. Another commonality between the south countries is that most have a history of colonization, largely at the hands of the European power, who are in the north. Most of the southern countries were of the experience of colonies. They were colonies before becoming independent. Okay. And most of their colonial masters are Europeans who belong to the north. That is what the major issue. Present requirement, why the concept is being reiterated now is partly because of the economic emergence of some of these south countries such as India and China in the last few decades. Some of these countries have re-emerged. So after overcoming colonialism, some among them are able to establish itself. Okay. And that has strengthened their willpower. Okay, to be global leaders in future, what they were before the colonialism started. Okay, they want to get back their own prosperity. They just want to get back their own prosperity, and in this desire they want to take some common steps. Okay, moving forward to discuss the chapter. Many consider the world to now be multipolar rather than one where the US alone dominates international affairs. You see the global situation. So in the post World War II period, world was bipolar. One side USA versus USSR. So 1991, so USSR disintegrated, making the world unipolar with only USA. And at present, so world is becoming multipolar. So condition 1, condition 2, condition 3. So bipolar, okay, unipolar, multipolar. So but this multipolarity is okay. The progress achieved by many Asian countries also seen as challenging the idea that North is the ideal. So you see the idea of the Singapore on development is at par with the North. So India on democracy is at par with the West. Okay, so that is why North as an ideal is to be broken. Okay, so North as a role model okay, that is what. Classmates are with you. The term is too broad. So what is being criticized? The South is a very broad area and broad term. Okay. The problem of proper naming is still not resolved. North countries paying for funding green energy, having historically contributed to higher carbon emission. Many in the global north have objected to China and India's exclusion from this, given their increasing industrialization. So they want India and China to be in the north, not in the south, because they are at par with development in comparison to the north. although taking the leadership of the South. There is also the question of whether the South simply aims to replace the North and the position it occupies, again continuing a cycle in which a few countries accumulate crucial resources. Okay, right. There is also the question of whether the South simply aims to replace the North. If it is that the South wants to replace the North, okay. Okay. There is also the question of whether the South simply aims to replace the North and the position it occupies, again continuing to cycle in which a new countries accumulate crucial resources. So whether it is only that the South will replace the North and take its position, or something else. Okay. In the rise of Asia, the continued neglect of Africa has been questioned as well, because South also includes Africa. But the development in the Asian country is much faster than the development in the Africa. If the South will take both Asia and Africa, it will further delayed to achieve the level of faster development. Okay, that is why these are the criticisms. If we include the African country in the South at present, the development process will be delayed and it may be further prolonged. Okay, but this you can say is a very good beginning to establish the assertiveness of the South in general, and in that the leadership of India in particular. In this multipolar world, the whole North and South needs to come together to fight the issue of developed and developing countries and promote the first East okay, like the West. So if the East okay. Some economists have argued that international free trade and unhindered capital flow across countries could lead to a contraction in the north-south divide. Okay. Okay. In this case, more equal trade and flow of capital would allow the possibility for developing countries to further develop economically. Okay. As some countries in the south experience rapid development, there is evidence that those states are developing high levels of south-south aid, because to reduce their dependence on the north, so especially on finance, the south agreed to establish the BRICS Bank or NDB. They established the AIIB, and so they are promoting their cooperation through even financial help and assistance to each other. Okay. The second news relating to the report of the Human Rights Watch. Okay. The third edition of the Human Rights Watch World Report was released. So Human Rights Watch is an international group promoting and protecting human rights. Okay. It is a New York based group. So like the okay. Like the Amnesty International. Okay. This edition review human rights practices in close to 100 countries. For human rights internationally, after this, when human rights issue become international, चारटा बेले आज हेलो भाई गोटे क्लास रे अच्छी चारटा बेले कहती पर आज बुझी तुम कहदेवी हाँ बुझी तुम कहदेव फाइन. So internationally, although human rights emerged in the French Revolution, but when United Nations was created, you know, in 1948, the Universal Declaration on human rights was published. Okay, so this became the Magna Carta of human rights protection and promotion around the world. So United Nations has an institution called the United Nations Human Rights Council as the guardian of human rights around the world. At the United Nations level, there is a global human rights guardian. Okay, but apart from the role played by the UN agency, other international and multilateral human rights groups have emerged at national level, regional level, okay, international level or global level. They have been created. Fine. So like in India we have the National Human Rights Commission, there is state human rights commissions. Fine, they are there. Although these have been created, yet the role of the international human rights groups like the Amnesty International and the Human Rights Watch. Amnesty International based in London and Human Rights Watch is based in New York, USA. Okay, so they project themselves as the guardian of human rights around the world, and their voice is more credible than the voice of the national human rights agencies. They are able to establish their credibility to that an extent. Okay, they are so much credible that their voice is accepted without doubt. Without doubt, their voice is accepted. Okay. Okay. So politically motivated charges in the section of India, the Human Rights Watch said authority throughout India arrested activists, journalists and other critics of the government on what is called politically motivated criminal charges, including that of terrorism. So on Indian context, the Human Rights Watch say that in India, the government has arrested many and violated their human rights who are against the government or who express their view against the government on charges of other politically motivated criminal charges, including the charges of terrorism, and put behind bar. Okay, put them behind the bar. On the minority, the report also said that Indian authority had intensified and broadened their crackdown on activist group and the media through 2022. So crackdown on the media and other activists is on in India because the government, anyone criticizing the government is targeted by the government. And the government put them in difficult situations to just suppress their view or open, transparent view against the government. Abuse and repression. They added that the Hindu nationalist Bharatiya Janata Party led government used abusive and discriminatory policies to repress Muslim and other minorities. It was also alleged. So how far it is true or not, and from which basis, on what basis they have claimed this, is not yet been tested, but the allegation is such that the government in power, the party in power, they manhandle the Muslims and the minorities. They added that authority also misused law forbidding forced religious conversion to target Christians, especially from Dalit and Adivasi communities. With the report. How far it is right or wrong is not as certain, but what is the source of this report formulation? Okay. They have cited some example, the VANIK-IAS case and violence against women, referring to the release of 11 Hindu men convicted and sentenced to jail in the gang rape of Bilkis Banu and the murder of 13 members of her family during the Godhra riot. The celebration of the release by some BJP members, the Human Rights Watch said the action highlighted the government's discriminatory stance towards minority community even in case of violence against women. Okay, the Bilkis Banu case was a very important case in the Godhra riot. When she was raped, her members were killed, okay, by the Hindu mob in the aftermath of the Godhra crisis. On Jammu and Kashmir, the Human Rights Watch said that even after the 3 years of removal of the Article 370 and the creation of 2 federally administered territory or 2 union territories, Jammu and Ladakh, the government continued to restrict free expression, peaceful assembly, and other basic rights there. Although the state of Jammu and Kashmir has been bifurcated to 2 union territories, yet the restrictions, because till date free expression, peaceful assembly, and other basic rights are not available to the citizens of Jammu and Kashmir, which is highlighted by the report of the Human Rights Watch. This shows point towards the government of India's approach to protecting human rights. Although India is a democratic country and constitution promotes human rights, the Global Human Rights Observer referred to suspected militant attacks on minority Hindu and Sikh community in the Kashmir Valley. The Kashmir Pandits are right now being targeted by the terrorists. This is human rights violation. Welcoming the Supreme Court rulings, the Human Rights Watch also noted the increasingly liberal steps taken by the Supreme Court in India. It also referred to the top courts are following significant rulings, extending abortion rights to all women regardless of marital status and to people other than cisgender women, widening the definition of the family to include same-sex couples, single parents, and other households. It also took note of the Supreme Court's banning on the two-finger test. So all these are taken as positive sign, a positive ruling by the Supreme Court. Amidst government's apathy towards human rights protection, the Supreme Court ruling, according to the Human Rights Watch, is more in tune with the protecting human rights. The Human Rights Watch is an international non-governmental organization. The group pressures governments, policymakers, companies, and individual human rights abusers to denounce abuse and respect human rights, and often works on behalf of refugees, children, migrant, and political prisoners. Headquartered in New York City of USA, that conducts research and advocacy on human rights. Basic human rights pursuant to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Human Rights Watch opposes violation of that. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights considered as basic human rights. So, what has been declared as human rights by the Universal Declaration by General Assembly in 1940 are the cardinal principles which are highlighted by the Human Rights Watch. This includes capital punishment and discrimination on ground of sexual orientation. Freedoms. Human Rights Watch advocates freedom in connection with fundamental human rights such as freedom of religion and freedom of the press. It seeks to achieve change by publicly pursuing government and their policymakers to curb human rights abuses, and by convincing more powerful governments to use their influence on government that violates human rights. Okay. Then coming to the provisions in Constitution, there are fundamental rights protecting human rights in India. 6 fundamental rights are there in Indian Constitution, which are the rights to protect the human rights of the people. Okay. Right to equality, right to freedom, right to exploitation, right to religion, cultural education rights, right to constitutional remedies. Okay. Free speech and expression, it is protected as fundamental rights in the Constitution of India under Article 19(1)(a), which states that all citizens shall have the right to freedom of speech and expression. Article 19, right to freedom. Article 19(1)(a). Freedom of religion under the Indian Constitution, various fundamental rights are provided as well as guaranteed by our Constitution under the Article 3. Article 28 of the Indian Constitution guarantee the right to freedom of religion to all citizens who are residing within the territory of India. Freedom of conscience and free profession of religion, freedom to manage religious affairs, freedom from payment of taxes for promotion of any particular religion, Article 27. Freedom to attend religious instructions, Article 28. India, being a secular nation, gives every citizen the right to follow the religion he believes in. By the 42nd Amendment 1976, the Indian Constitution term secularism was inserted in the preamble. Okay, so that means India established itself as a secular country where every religion is to be treated equally. No official religion of the state, every religion get equal protection. The next important topic of very interesting is the Ganga Vilas cruise, the first cruise service launched in India. Recently, Prime Minister of India flagged up the world's longest river cruise, MV Ganga Vilas in Varanasi. During the event, the Prime Minister also inaugurated the 10th seat in Varanasi and laid the foundation stone for several other inland waterway projects. The cruise will be managed by private operators. The Inland Waterways Authority of India under the Ministry of Shipping, Port and Waterways has supported the project. It connecting National Waterway 1, which includes Ganga and National River 2, Brahmaputra. The cruise will cross 27 river systems. So connecting 1 and 2, Waterway 1 and 2 spread over Ganga and Brahmaputra, this will connect 27 rivers or cross 27 rivers. So covering more than 50 places of historical and geographical importance, cultural importance, religious importance. Fine. So this will continue because the 51 days cruise is planned with visit of 50 tourist spots including World Heritage Sites, national parks, river guides and major cities like Patna in Bihar, Sahibganj in Jharkhand, Kolkata in West Bengal, Dhaka in Bangladesh and Guwahati in Assam. Then the next is the Parsuram Kund Festival. Recently, the Andhra Pradesh government informed that Parsuram Kund Festival is to be celebrated on 15 to 16 January 2023 at northeastern ports of Teju, Andhra Pradesh, also known as the Kumbh of the Northeast. It is believed that a dip in the holy water of Parsuram Kund washes away all the sins. Parsuram Kund is situated within the Kamlang Reserve Forest area. This place on the Lohit River carries a strong mythological link with the legend of Parsuram, a Hindu sage. Okay. According to legend, Sage Parsuram washed away his sin of matricide in the waters of the Lohit river Brahmakund. The Kund is surrounded by dense forest of Rudrakha trees, the fruit of which is considered sacred to Hindu ascetics as well as general beliefs in the faith. This place on the Lohit river carries a strong mythological link with the Kalki Puran, the Srimad Bhagavat and the Mahabharata. Okay, so places of historical, mythological importance, religious importance to India, and the festival is arranged based on that mythological imprint. The Sprint scheme, Indian Navy has recently linked an agreement with the Sagar Defence Engineering Limited, Private Limited for acquiring armed automated boat swarm under the Sprint initiative. Sprint scheme is an initiative to promote development of niche defence technology by domestic companies. The task of development of this technology is one of the 75 challenges that have been introduced by the Indian Navy under the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav year of the 75 years of independence. What this is, what this niche challenge? To achieve Atmanirbhar in Defence, National Innovation and Indigenous Organization (NIIO), in conjunction with the Defence Innovation Organization, aim to induct at least 75 new indigenous technology products into the Indian Navy till August 2023. This collaborative project is named Sprint, supporting pole vaulting in R&D through innovations of defense excellence. NIIO and Technology Development Accelerator Cell are cooperating. It was launched by Prime Minister in July 2022. It will transform Navy from a buyer's Navy to a builder's Navy, because everything was purchased by the Indian Navy. Right now they will build everything they need. That is from buyer's Navy to a builder's Navy. Asian waterbird census. The next news is regarding the Asian waterbird census 2023. The Asian waterbird census is to be done from January 7, 23rd to January 22nd, 2023. How is this census done? This census is conducted by the Wetland International South Asia in coordination with the Bombay Natural History Society in mid-January every year. It provides a reference list of internationally important Asiatic waterbird census sites and wetlands in India. Similarly, in other parts of places of Asia, the coordination of this AWC makes the counting of aquatic birds possible. Through their coordination, the counting of the Asiatic birds is done regularly every year in the month of January. Because during the same period, many migratory birds are in India and they contribute to the diversity of Indian bird population. Which area are covered? This census is conducted all over the Asia and Australia. Thousands of volunteers, particularly participate in this census as per international protocol and methodology. This citizen science program supports the conservation and management of wetlands and water birds around the world. Obtain information on the water birds populations on an annual basis at the wetland in the region during the non-breeding period. Annual monitoring of wetland status and coordination. Increase interest of the citizens on the wetland and water bird conservation. Why? Because they need to be conserved and protected. Because that will bring the ecology to the level. Then coming to Chilika wetland, where census takes place every year during this period. Then coming to the answer writing, increased import of gold and crude oil has increased the current account deficit of India. In this context, discuss the various measures adopted by the government of India to reduce import dependence on gold and crude oil. You see, two major Indian imports includes import of gold and import of petroleum products. Although petroleum is used for running the economy or moving the economy, gold is more consumed. Gold is more consumed. India's jewelry market sector is one of the largest in the world, accounting for about 29% of the world's consumption. Almost 65% of the jewelry made in India is handmade. Gold mining brings important sustainable socio-economic development to India. The gold mining industry was the little importance in the country despite being an impoverished country with low per capita income. India tops the world in gold buying. Although India is a poor country, Indian purchase of gold is highest in the world. So India is a major major buyer or consumer of gold. And gold has its own requirement in India from the birth till death. To curb the surge in gold import and check inflow gains being made by the producers of crude oil and petroleum products, the center has raised the import duty on gold to 15% from 10.75%. So gold import duty has been increased to 15% because it is luxurious consumption. But in India it is necessary because in Indian culture gold is associated with birth to death. The poor family purchase gold during occasions like marriage and or the celebrations. Current account deficit is the gap between the total import and total export. If the import is more than the export, so there is a possibility of increasing current account deficit. The current account deficit increases where so the import is more than the export from a particular country. Fine. Current account deficit is the record of trade in goods and services and transfer payment. It is a part of the balance of payment and records a deficit when the import of goods and services exceeds the export. The imports exceed the export, so the country is said to be carrying a current account deficit. Okay. Okay. The current account deficit of India was 2.8% of GDP in Q1 2023 as per the RBI. India typically runs a current account deficit due to import of gold and crude oil. Various measures are adopted by the government of India to reduce the import dependence on gold and crude oil. Okay, because this puts a pressure on the foreign exchange reserve. Sovereign gold bond scheme has been launched by the government. That government securities denominated in gram of gold. They are substitute for holding physical gold. Investors have to pay the issue price of the cash and the bond will be redeemed in cash or maturity. The bond is issued by the RBI on behalf of the government of India. It was launched in 2015. Those who want to invest in gold can invest in gold, not in the gold. So not in gold but in gold bond or sovereign gold bond. Those who consume gold they purchase, but those who invest gold because gold price is increasing, instead of investing in gold, yellow metal, they can invest the gold sovereign bond, which have the same value, same increase in price as per the market price of gold. Okay, then that is okay. Next is on the gold monetization. Another scheme is there, which is known as gold monetization. The gold monetization scheme modified an existing gold deposit scheme, the gold metal loan scheme. It was launched in 2015 with the intention to mobilize gold held by households and institutions, especially government trust or temple trust of the country, and facilitate its use for productive purposes, and in the long run to reduce the country's reliance on the import of gold. So our temple and trust and the household has plenty of golds with them. Okay, so that is what they want to mobilize the ideal gold at home or in the trust for productive purposes, and the interest will be paid on the value of the gold, and the person can take back gold on maturity. Okay. Then hydrocarbon and exploration licensing policy 2016 provides a single license for the exploration of all hydrocarbons. It is based on the revenue sharing model that ensures guaranteed return for the government. Open access licensing mechanism, it gives an option to the company looking for exploring hydrocarbon to select the exploration block on its own without waiting for the formal bid round from the government. They can find the place where they want to explore the petroleum and gas or the fossil fuel. Maintaining strategic reserve. The strategic reserve held by the country is in addition to the existing storage of crude oil and petroleum products with all companies. India has established strategic petroleum reserve in the following locations: Visakhapatnam, Mangaluru, Padur, and Chandikhol in Odisha. Government plan to establish strategic gold reserves. संपत्ति सेवा एडीएम
କହିବେ ଡିସକାଉଣ୍ଟ
डिस्काउंट 10% कर दो ठीक रेगुलर कोर्स निकला तो नमिता प्रीलिम कम मेन रेगुलर तो
हाँ सही रिकमेंड
रिकमेंड तो 10 करेंगे
75 अपन କଥା ହେଇଥିଲେ କି ସେ
Ten
କହିଲେ କିଛି ଆପଣ
କରିଦିଅ।
କରିନଥାନ୍ତୁ 20000 ଦେଇକି ସେ ଜଏନ୍ କରିଦେଇଛନ୍ତି
10 करेंगे वो साइन कर
ଆଜ୍ଞା
So in Chandigarh, we have planned to establish a region in Odisha. As part of the above measures, efforts have been made to promote the use of environment-friendly fuel for transport, e-vehicles, increase explorations and production of hydrocarbons by promoting ease of doing business and thus boosting domestic manufacturing of crude oil and gold. Coming to FCQs, consider the statement about the Inland Water Authority of India. Established in the year 1986, Inland Water Authority of India. Okay, the headquarter in Inland Water Authority is located in Noida. So both are correct. Okay. Then consider the following pair. Next question is a question of matching. Match the following. Festival and state, Mago Bihu, Pongal, Uttarayan, Tamil Nadu. So only one pair is correct, the first one. Reference to National Center for Good Governance, consider the following statement. It works under the Department of Administrative Reforms and Public Grievances. Each right. This is statutory body, no. So Parliament has not passed any law to create this system. So only one is correct. Then question number 4. MV Ganga Bilas is longest river cruise started recently by India. Will connect Ganga and Brahmaputra and pass through a number of small rivers. Needs more than 50-day cruise. So answer is the longest river cruise in the world. So the following stadium is the hockey. Eden Garden Cricket, Sardar Patel Stadium, no. So Dhyanchand National Stadium, okay. So it's with hockey. Dhyanchand is credited, okay. And so the Khel Ratna Major Dhyanchand Award, the highest award in sports, is given in his name, Major Dhyanchand Khel Ratna Award. And in India, in Odisha, we built the Isra Munda Stadium in Raurkela. Which statement about Indian skimmers is correct? Indian skimmer are found in the coastal estuary of Eastern India. Okay, so it's correct. The endangered in the IUCN red list is correct. This is protected by site appendix 1 is incorrect. Recently located in Corin Wildlife Sanctuary in Andhra Pradesh is correct. So only C is incorrect. The following statement: a detailed assessment of the survey conducted as per the Asian Waterbird Census 2023 shows the population of some migratory waterbird, especially duck species, within the region has fallen. The survey jointly run by the Social Forestry Wing of the Forest Department and the Birders Upurna, a bird watching group, recorded 15,335 birds and 117 species. Okay, so in this case, okay, so both 1 and 2 are correct. Both 1 and 2 are correct. For this question, 1 and 2, both the options are correct. What's the following statement about the Voice of the Global South Summit? India hosted the summit in a bid to articulate the view of the developing country regarding the effect of the pandemic and the war in Ukraine. Right? The event has planned 8 ministerial sessions including finance, energy, education, foreign affairs and commerce. Okay. So in this case, both are correct. C is the right answer. What's the following statement? Recently, a report titled Groundwater Yearbook 21-22 was released on the state of groundwater released by the Central Groundwater Board. 12 Indian states have uranium level beyond permissible limits in their groundwater. Punjab is the worst affected state in terms of the percentage of well found to have uranium concentration of more than 30 ppb. Okay, so this is all of them are correct. Then coming to question number 10, the last question in the series. Human Rights Watch is an international non-governmental organization, right? It is headquartered in New York City that conducts research and advocacy on the human rights. Here also both statement 1 and 2 are correct. So keep on watching regularly and to update yourself on the most important development of the day. Thank you.